She's in Cincinnati visiting family and is going to return home sometime tomorrow. So I just set up the stream by myself without any assistance, which feels pretty good. I guess I should have done it earlier. Um, I'm going to give folks a minute. And if anyone's out there and wants to do me a solid, if one of you can tell me if I need to refresh the picture. I haven't done this without Azalea, my tech support, in the background helping. So I'm just trying to keep an eye on what's happening. So right now, let me see, show on screen. Of course, the chat thing is currently unreachable. Isn't that funny how that sometimes can happen? There's always something. So let me give it a second and I'll try it again. Let me see if I can. There's chat on this side. Looks like they've done some extra. Let me see if I turn it on screen. That's the hide. No, I don't want it on screen. I'm not sure how to do that. For some reason, it's not showing it to me. Maybe I can hit this. And no, not private chat. All right, my friends, I'm going to try and do this. Customize. Let's see. Customize. No, I don't know how to do that. I'm getting a bubble that says the chat restream is currently unreachable. So let's kind of muddle through this as best we can. Let's see if I can get that going. I'm going to try refreshing it real fast and see if that helps. Bear with me for a second. I'm reloading. All right, I guess I'm back. Did that work? Let's see if that worked. I keep having trouble with reloading this. And I can tell you right now, I am at I'm kind of trying not to be kind of panicked here, but I can't read any comments, so I don't even know what's happening. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to hit refresh one more time. I might have to come back in and out again. So I apologize for seeming like every time I do this, there's some kind of excitement. All right, I've got 20 folks watching. Of course, it's them when that happens. What do you do? So what I'm doing is I'm streaming. I have a streaming service that I'm on Restream right now. And I have, of course, technical difficulties. So bear with me for a second while I'm getting this. So my chat bubble is not loading for whatever reason. I have full bars, full internet, great weather. There's no reason for this that I can see. I have very few things open, so I'm not draining it. There's nothing open on this, so I am trying to figure this out. So what I can do, this is Azalea's, she's trying to give me tech support from afar. I apologize, my friends. So I'm not really sure what to do here. I'm just going to hit stream one more time. Azalia says you can leave the stream with the arrow top left and go back in. All right, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to refresh. Wish me luck. I'm reloading. Give me a minute, maybe 30 seconds. I still can't read comments, so I'm not really sure what to do here. Maybe what I can do is, I don't know. I'm not really sure what to do. It's like, I apologize, my friends. This is super embarrassing. Totally trying to keep my cool. Trying not to freak out, but I'm a little bit freaking out because I don't know what else to do. I hit reload. I can't read any comments. I do not know what's the story here. And I followed all the instructions. Azalea made a video for me to follow. And then Azalea says, Restream could be down. Restream is working, except there are no comments. So it's... what can I do? I don't know what to do. So let me see what I can do. I can see I have 26 people. So you know what I'm going to do? Azalea, if you're watching, maybe just text me some comments so that I can do this. I can't read anything, so we're just going to muddle through it. We're just going to figure it out. Or I can just go and try again. Maybe I'll come out and try again. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try one more time. If that doesn't help, I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to try and refresh one last time. Comments. Sorry about this. I apologize. I'm glad it looks good. All right, I'm just going to do this. You guys, Azalea, just read me the comments if you can. There's a way. I don't know how to make the comments appear. Restream, you're letting me down. If you guys are watching, I just want you to know I'm not real happy with this. So what I did the other day, let me just figure some of this out. I'm completely frazzled right now. This is what my face looks like when I'm frazzled. Slightly like bewildered. I don't know. I have not seen this happen before, so it's something new. We've been doing this for a few years now, and every time, I don't care who you are, there's always going to be something. So anyway, I'm just going to get on with it because you know what, y'all can, Azalea can read me a comment or two. All right, so the other day on Wednesday, what I did was we did some watercolor, a little bit of wash and watercolor, and I was making photo backgrounds, and that was one of these. And you know what I told y'all? I know I said this. I was like, you don't have to use fancy paper. You don't have to use fancy paper. But one thing that is good is that when you use really good paper, just a splurge one time, get a big sheet of that really nice thick stuff. You know, you see it at the art supply store. And you're like, what on earth am I going to do with that? Well, I found some. I have a big stack of fancy paper that I'm waiting for the right project. I don't know if anyone else does this, but I sometimes hoard my fancy supplies. And I'm like, well, I got to save this for when something I do is really important. That's all well and good, but then what if it's really nice? And then you've got it on this chintzy paper. But here's the thing. You can cut these pieces up, or what I usually do, I got this stack over here. So I keep them, and they're all about the same. I make these little ones because what I do with them, I'm using them so you can take pictures. It looked like blank for a second. So there's like this one. Well, that's a really lousy one. But let me see. This one is one that I used for, check this out. So this is my packaging. For my pendant. So if you don't know, I do art markets, and I have a website where we sell components and things that we make here in GreenGirlStudios, prints and zines and things. So I just started this packaging, and I've packaged things in all different ways over the years. Every which way that you can think of, I've done all kinds of packaging. And this is one that is pretty good. It has these clear sleeves, protect the stuff so it doesn't get dinged up. And what I did with this is this is the original, and so this is black watercolor paper, and I started with making these sheets that I was showing you. That if you get stuck, you don't know what you're doing creatively. You're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to make something. I don't know. The way I feel about that is if you're actively doing something, letting your brain sort of get in that flow state, or you're trying to activate that because you hear pretty much continuously, be creative, right? You hear that and like, well, what's creative besides doing like coloring books and diamond dot painting? Um, I would say sometimes it's good to kill two birds with one stone. This is me. This is personal. You don't have to always think of things as being monetizing or for double use. But this is like I didn't have a clear path for this. Is what I'm getting down to. So I didn't have a clear path, and sometimes you can make these just fun, quick watercolor backgrounds, and you can use these as if you ever make posts on Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest where you have to come up with an ad. Nowadays, I know that they've got a lot of they have things that you can just use an app. I think there's a couple of apps that you can get. I use both sides in this, and this is one. The two I just showed you. So look how small this is, and look at this was an actual felted design I made for the background, which I did on the live. I didn't know I was going to use it, but it looked good, so why not? This one I made too. So I also make these. Where did I put it? Like I just cleaned this off, and I cleaned it so good I can't find it. So anyway, I made those backgrounds, and if you remember from Wednesday, I had started a background, this one, and this is just like I usually look. I didn't even. It's like habit. I didn't even go down this far because I don't know what it is. I remember listening or reading this book by Audrey Flack called Art and Soul, and there was a little excerpt. I don't know if you ever seen it. It's like from the 90s. It's a little book like this big, and it's like a collection of thoughts, essays from the artist Audrey Flack, who did super huge still lives in the late 80s and early 90s. And I don't know how, I never really followed her career really closely, but she said some artists work smaller than life, some work at the same as life, with life size, and then some artists work way larger than life. And I tend to work smaller than life. Like my comfort zone is like this. This is where I'm happiest. So these were two backgrounds. These were for the Cherry Tree project where we collaborated, where I did the original sculpture, and Jen took the masters with her to China, and where she goes, she told me, I can't think the town. It's very, very modern. It doesn't look like how I imagined. I put a walking tour on YouTube the other day, and I was like, that could be New York City. It looked just like New York City. So I was like, man, it's not what I expected China to look like, except all the letters were in Chinese. But anyway, she ordered the flight. She went through and visited the factory. Now, some of these factories are very high tech. They're not what you picture. I mean, of course, there are like India, you see, if you've ever seen how they'll have a foot pedal type situation where they're grinding beads, and it's kind of the same way. It's like a bike pedal type thing where they're rolling this machine back, or this basically it's a drill, and they're drilling all these tiny bead fragments so they can facet them. This factory has like what do you call it? It's kind of like a router, but it's a 3D scanner that can scan the shape. So this is exactly the same size as my carving. So we made, I think, 5 or 6 stones, and I did those backgrounds for it. But what happened was there was a little bit of a miscommunication, and we didn't realize that labradorite, there was a big piece of really good, beautiful rainbow labradorite that came in, and we didn't know that she's going to choose it because it was, you know how it is, you don't know. And I set the one down, and I don't see it now. What do I do with it? It's the story of my life. I'm not constantly setting one thing down and then picking up another. And it arrived. So now I have to come up with a very fast, well, actually it wasn't that fast. It took me a week to make these backgrounds. I made a bunch of them, and none of them really looked like what I wanted. So the first thing I did was I was like trying to work towards this pastel kind of look, right? And I thought, man, does that look good? Part of me questioned it. I thought this is what I want. I thought this is what I was after. And I looked at the other things that I had. And this is it is not a high-tech way to work. And I realize that. And people go, why don't you just freaking scan it in and like use some kind of AI and do that? The answer to that is that I think of myself as an environmentalist as much as I can be. Look, that blends in. That's not the answer. Look, also blends in. So you can see when you're working out packaging, you want to make sure it actually highlights what you're doing, right? You don't want to sit there and waste your time. Like this happens to work really well for something like this. This looks great. Perfect. See what I mean? It's like kind of like a nice background for the piece. So anyway, those didn't work. And the next thing I did was I thought, okay, so I did some research on labradorite. I don't know if y'all are interested in this, but it was interesting to me. And it's what I found for the back of the card. I don't have it in front of me because I didn't print it out. It's on my phone, but I can remember it. So the first case of recorded discovery of labradorite was in 1770, where it was discovered in Labrador, Canada, where the name comes from. Now, I can't pronounce the Inuit word for labradorite. I'm not even going to try. But the Inuit people have been using it for a while to make different fetishes, different, little decorative beads, pendants. And they had some really interesting legends about it. But both legends feature the Aurora Borealis. And in one legend, it was said that during one of the light shows, the stone fell from heaven, or from the ancestors threw it down as a gift. And then there's another story of how this warrior used his spear and hit the stone and caused the Aurora Borealis to be trapped inside of what was really a plain gray rock. So I wanted to capture that. So I did this version. This is version 1. I'm going to show you the other versions because they're not worth looking at. So I thought this would work, right? So I have the colors of labradorite in here. It looks okay. And so you can see I kind of have some of that where you can see, but again, what's happening, it's kind of getting lost. I don't think that looks that good. So I went back to the drawing board and was like, okay, I know that I want a little bit of the labradorite, the Aurora Borealis in there. So I did it again. So this is what I came up with. And I didn't want to make it exactly like the Aurora Borealis. This is like the first version. So it usually shows up. Sometimes you'll get it where it's like during the midnight, what they call, I think, not midnight sun, but what is it when it's like, maybe it's midnight sun, where it's daytime all the time, but you still get Aurora Borealis. So it's like kind of like this sunset type of vibe. And I think this is where it's at right here. I feel like I can't see anybody's comments except Azalea's going to have to relay them to me on text. And if she does that, then I can read them. But what do y'all think? So here's the version that I'm sending over to Jen in the morning. And they're going to start working on it. So this is what we've been waiting for, so that I can get these to you guys to sell so as fast as I could, which took me about a week. I know it's like, why did it take so long? Well, it turns out I had to write the text and edit the text, and then go in and make a background that didn't look like garbage. So sometimes you'll make something. Sometimes I was live when I did this, and obviously this wasn't the finished. I would have come in with more flowers. But then when I started doing the research, I was like, flowers don't have anything to do with this. So I wanted to do something that kind of showcased the real beauty of that stone. So anyway, that's done, and I'm going to send that off tomorrow. So what that will mean is you'll be able to buy it soon. All right, I'm going to flip this camera. Bear with me for a second while I switch this view. Now, camo might be my friend again. It might be down. Who knows why things happen the way they do. I'm going to turn this on. Let's see if I can get it going. Thank you all for being. Of course, this is. Oh, here we go. Yay. All right. Sorry. You know what? I bought these lunch trays. Actually, Joanne got me this one. She got me a stack. They were a quarter a piece at the Habitat for Humanity. Sometimes we get stuff like these. This is just a lunch tray. It's vintage. It's the same tray that you get at any like fast food. But you know what? It's lightweight. It's kind of like a baker's tray, and it works good. It's one of my favorite things to work with is a little tray. That's happening. That way I can lift it up and move on to my next. I have a big baker's rack that I can just slide these guys onto, and you can put another cloth on it to keep the dust off, or something else. What I have here in the pile is the remainder of what was in this kit here. I think it's called Tide Pool Lucky Dip. Let me see if I can bring that. I actually don't know if I have any more of these, but I will say. I don't know how to drop the link. Maybe Zoe can drop it in there for you. I don't know how to do it. I did know, and I don't see it's not happening for me this time. Okay, look at this. This is a card I'm working on for a project. That was one thing that I was working on this week. I'll show more of what goes with this. And here's another thing I've been working on. I got some new stones to add to this stone collection. Check this out. Look how pretty this is. This isn't done. You can check this out. This is coming soon. I know Zoe's going to be like, is that labradorite? Is that more labradorite? Well, I found some really gorgeous, super beautiful. It's like I can't quit it. It's like my stone of my heart. That and sapphires. And maybe rubies. And I also like, how can I choose? I'm like choosing kids, right? So anyway. Oh, and check this out to go with it. Look at this. I would say to you, does anyone know what this is? But I think we all probably guess. Not pretty. Check that out. I'm into it. And then look at this coloration coming soon for this that's rainbow tourmaline or watermelon tourmaline. That's on the coming soon. Oh, and I have one more that's coming soon. So I got a couple coming soon. Here's another one. Look at this heaping mountain of goodness. Check this out. The base of this is morganite. I showed this a little bit. I found morganite, and it was really dark. Like when I say dark, it was not the usual like. So this is some Larimar. It's kind of. I high graded this and found the nicest strands. This is sapphires. Larimar, gem grade lepidolite, aquamarine, and look at this super dark Moonstone. I need to find a bigger bowl though. This is kind of overflowing. But anyway, this is on. This is coming soon. Look at this one. I know. Green Phantom. Or Ludolite Quartz. Boy, it's heavy. So anyway, this is what I've been doing, is matching this up. So you can see how pretty it looks. But the only thing is that not all of them have a green flash like that. Some of them have this color flash, and then they're invisible. You know what I mean? So that's why this particular, like this one, kind of, you can't even see it. But I feel like this is the one here. I don't know if you would agree with that statement. But they stand out, I think. There's a little bit. So this will be shrunk down to about like this size, I think. This whole thing will be like that. So I made it a little bit bigger. Usually I work smaller than the average artist, I think. But I feel like this is the one because everything kind of pops. That green that you get, because sometimes labradorite has that kind of aqua color flash. I tried to get as many of the colors of labradorite that naturally are more popular. Sometimes you get this kind of raspberry, like on this one. You see that? Like right there, that flash. I tried to get that as close as I could. And that actually took some doing. You wouldn't think that this would take that long, but I spent 2 full days. I know it doesn't seem like it, but to get it to look where it was like ethereal and not just like, I was trying to get it to look like labradorite and the aurora borealis at the same time. So it posed a particular challenge, which I thought was pretty cool, you know? So anyway, you can see how it looks. So anyway, this part is done. Now, after I send it off, the thing that needs to happen is it needs to go to the printer. Hopefully the printer can get that done quick. So anyway, that's what's happening with that. Now, here's a little collection. I made these on Wednesday. These are some of this is a labradorite again. And I found out about this product called hydroxyl, and it's to repair or stabilize a gemstone that has a fracture or like a hairline inclusion. Like this one has an inclusion right here, but I can strengthen that. Now, I didn't know anything about stabilization until like Wednesday when I went to the Gem Society in Hendersonville. And it was explained to me that I could go in and fix that. So that crack I was going to show on that other piece of amber that I was cutting. Where that went. The crack kind of got bigger. So I actually, if I want to keep this piece in one piece, then I can go in and repair it here where the inclusion, because a lot of times stones will have inclusions, will have like microscopic fractures that when you polish it and there's a lot of heat, you have to, if you want it to stay, you can stabilize it. Now, in like Tibet, they would have taken this piece here. Now, the old school way to fix this would have been to drill on either side and then do like an inset, almost like you're stapling it, but they would have used like silver or gold or something, or brass, and that would have been part of the design element. You would not just pitch it. So I thought stabilization was the same thing as like composite. Now, composite's a different thing. Composite's where they take the ground up powder from a stone and compress it into a solid, like a meatloaf, and then let it set up. It's like an epoxy base, and then shape it. And that's a super, super duper. It's basically epoxy. It's not even in this. I mean, it's like, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's very sturdy. It's not as fragile as you might think. You know, I don't tend to be drawn to stabilized or composite gemstones. You can kind of see it with certain types of jasper when they have the chunks. They'll have like there's one that looks like confetti, and they're all different colors, and they will pour that into like those flakes. They'll put them all into like I don't know what you call it, like I haven't seen the actual mold itself, the process, but I've heard about it. So I mean, it's pretty, but again, it's not my jam. So anyway, I thought tonight I was going to do something that I could do and talk and not be kind of nerve wracked. So I thought, hey, let's knot some of this stuff while we're talking, and I'll just use up the rest of this kit. So I made a necklace. It's in my purse. I was photographing it, which reminds me I was going to do a post. I need to keep that always. Yeah, I left it in the car. So anyway, I don't have the necklace, but I showed it on Wednesday if you're curious. So I made a necklace with some soft wax, and it was like a layering piece. So what I'm doing is kind of spreading these guys out. This is the way I like to work. I don't know how other people like to work, but this is how I like to work. And so what I thought was that I would make something with this and do a quick like knotting. So what I did first was I glued these guys together, and it's this S-lon or C-lon, nylon, any kind of cord that you have that will fit. So if you have two different shapes, now I know I've heard can use different colors, can use different thicknesses, can use different, yes, as long as it fits through your bead holes. Now you might have different size bead holes, which is why I went with a more fine gauge of thread. I'm going to put that there. It was underneath my hair. So what we'll do is, I think what I'm going to do is start with some smalls, because we'll just think that the clasp will be that way. I might not even put a clasp. I might attach it. So what I'm going to do is pull all the smalls and make a pile of the smalls and just move them over so I have that. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I like making little piles of, it's like my paint palette. Sometimes I will do color, but I don't know that I'm going to have the patience to do that. So I'm going to do just like smaller ones. Get some of that just so I can see. Like I probably won't put these big ones. Those would be good earrings right there. They're like perfect for earrings. You can imagine it with like something like this, ruby or something. All right, I'm just going to start threading these on there. Now, if you have, you can use any kind of beads, check glass, pearls, whatever you have that you like. What I'm going to do is kind of just look at this and put things on that I think that will look good next to each other. Now I can space this out and do like sort of like a kind of like an illusion necklace, but we'll see. We'll see how this will work. I always think I'm going to do that, but then I never do. Like, I love it when it has that sort of feeling of like kind of delicate. Now this one, it's going through. Sometimes your bead holes will be small on one side, big on the other. That's my least favorite story. I don't like that. I like it better when it's like consistent. And I'm loving that within the last like decade, beads have kind of improved as far as the bead hole drilling situation. Kind of bummed I can't really read the text. I can see I have about 43 people watching, and I can't see what everybody's saying. So it's kind of sad for me. Now I usually glue. I use Fabri-Tac. I forgot to show that. Fabri-Tac is a sewing glue that they call not Fabri-Tac, Fray-Check. You could use Fabri-Tac. I use Fabri-Tac to make doll wigs, and it would work for this. And I think they're made by the same company. I'm not sure. But what I did was I put a dab on this bag, and I ran this through like this, just like a small thing. And then after I did this, I let it sit for a minute, and then it became a nice little stiff needle. Sometimes you might have to do it a couple times so it gets nice and stiff. Maybe, I don't just do one usually if I'm doing this. I usually have like 4 or 5 of these doubles going. I prefer to work in this sort of double way. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody likes it. And that's the thing about, I'm gonna put my glasses on. I can't believe I've been doing this without my glasses. I can see. Relief. So that other necklace is in my car. I was taking pictures yesterday, and I forgot to get it out. But some of this garnet over here is pretty good looking. And I'm not working in any pattern. I'm just kind of going intuitively. Sometimes I can be really finicky about these and get kind of lost in making a really, I just looked down, I'm like, how many smalls do I have here? So I put all these on. I need to start switching it up because I'm going to run out of these little ones. I mean, I'm not going to run. I have a couple. Actually, I'm like of these particular beads I might run out of. This I have for a particular project. Check out that kyanite I managed to find. I split this strand with my friend Liz from Saki Silver way back probably 15 years ago, and the whole thing was like this, and we divided it up. It was pretty expensive, but it made it kind of manageable. She was like, do you want to go in on this strand with me? It's kind of expensive. And I was like, let's see it. And I liked it, so that was good times. So here's another reason why I like to glue all the way up to like this much. Look at that. That's a lot. So if you're looking, say I got a little bend right here. See this little bend? I don't like that story. So I have a little pair of scissors. I just cut it right off. And usually you get that when you're trying to push a bead through and it doesn't want to go. It'll bend like that. And sometimes it's unavoidable if it's like this. This is old bead, so you can see it's got that drill through this side first, and then they went on this side and went. So now that I've been drilling beads, I know exactly how they did this, and I don't blame them for doing it this way, but I hate it. I'm sure everybody hates it. Nobody likes that story because it's kind of a nuisance, like you're trying to work and you have to sit there and deal with that. I don't like that. Now, I kind of went random. Maybe I'm going to go in here and maybe if I get in there and get a little zoom in a tiny bit. Where's the zoom? I'm looking around for zoom. Yeah. It's funny. I just reminded myself. Oh, here it is. A little bit closer. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the comments just suddenly appeared? I'd be so happy if that happened. It'd be so nice. I feel like I'm kind of like talking into the void. All right, this is looking. Now it's like it's funny because this is giving me Sundance vibes right here. This colorway. Sundance usually has that kind of southwestern feel. We'll see how this looks. You never know. God, this Aquaterra. They call it Aquaterra because it's like it's supposed to have that earth and sky, or earth and water, I guess is why it's called that. This is a ruby zoisite, and it's a little bit different. I feel like it has a little shimmer to it, which you don't usually see. And I think that's due to some feldspar in there. See, that's the ruby zoisite. Can you believe that? It's the same material. Kind of weird. But you know what? I looked at this with the light, and you can see threads of the ruby that's in it. It's like how do they call it? The presence of chromium. I got to say it, the whole thing. Presence of chromium. So anyway, the presence of chromium means it fluoresces. I think I'm due for some of these smalls. I'm going to layer in one. Maybe this one right here. Mm-hmm. Maybe another like lighter, if that turquoise looks good. So this comes from Africa, this turquoise. It's kind of greenish. This feels like kind of the wrong shape, so I'm going to put that over there. Let's see, maybe I find another blue that has that similar path. But maybe blue-green. Using the last of this. I was thinking about knotting this and doing this. Let me just show you what I was thinking about. So I drilled this, and I was thinking about this. Check this business out. Wire wrap it like this. Maybe not wire. Maybe something, and then these guys. This is that kind of agate. It's the same agate that we have here, but it comes in a lot of different colors. Actually, that's a piece of praesiolite. Actually, that's praesiolite, which is another word for green amethyst. So that's another word for it. They just call it that. But I believe the praesiolite is actually closer to like a beryl type material. I got a chunk of it, and the reason I say that is it was harder than the amethyst. Amethyst is like a 6-7. It's not that hard, and it's harder than like fluorite. But it's not. But the rainbow fluorite that you see is actually pretty soft and easy to carve. So I was like, for amethyst, this sure is hard. So it felt more like a beryl to me, if that makes any sense. It's kind of fun to be in this gem society. Everybody is so nice and welcoming. I got a few samples, gem samples. It was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to going on Monday or Wednesday. I'm going to bring my bike and hook it up and go on a quick bike ride. There's a ride there that just opened up called the Augusta Trail. It's a greenway, and they call it a rail to trail. And that means they take a railroad track that nobody's using anymore, and instead of just having it, just disintegrate, they're taking that pre-flattened ground and using it to make a bike trail, or a multi-use, I guess is the better way to say that. Multi-use. So, anywho, I'll put my bike up. I did the whole thing. Maybe it was on Thursday or Friday. I don't remember. And it is 6 miles so far in one direction. So I did that, and I was wore out after I finished it, because it's, if you could take the whole thing from point A to point B, it's 12 miles. But, which is nothing to some folks. There are people that I've met in the biking community that are like, oh, I'm going to do 50 miles. And I'm like, listen, you knock yourself out. It's not really for me at this point. And then I was like, wait a minute. You've got an e-bike, so that doesn't work. No wonder you're like, you're not huffing and puffing. So I was looking at this. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of spacing it. I wonder how that would look. So when you space it, you can kind of visualize. Now, the good thing about spacing that I'll tell you, you use a lot less of your beads. So if you're being thrifty with your beads, this is kind of made an inadvertent rainbow, huh? Yes, see, like I can't, like this, that one doesn't really belong. But if I have more of this in this, the thing about Lucky Dip that I kind of love is that you don't know what you're going to get. And I think that's the charm of it. Because before, me and Azalea, when we'd make these kits for folks, we would make it as even as possible. down to like making sure I kind of weighed it and checked it out and made sure like each one had as close to the same as possible. And this way is a little bit different because one box could have, like this one, look at this business. It's a little bit, it fits, but if the more I keep pushing, I can keep work. I can, it's clear so I can see it. I can keep messing with it, but I'm softening this up. So I'll just save this one for later. So I don't mess with it. There's like how many other beads here I can choose from. Let's see. So one might be a little snug, and the other not so much. I love this one particular. This is that Mexican jelly opal. I believe I got that. You know, I don't usually buy it, and every time I bought it, it was kind of expensive. So I guess from that and you don't see it very often because you know a lot of times a strand of jelly opal looks like this, and then there's another piece like this is, or like this color. So you'll get it, and it'll have the same vibe. So to me, it's kind of like, well, it's not a distinct. Well, it is a distinct stone, but it doesn't have as much of a distinction as some stones, like that you can immediately recognize it. So this one has a little bit too much blowout. I don't like it, so I'm gonna put that one over here. This will be pretty, but it seems a little big, huh? Let's put that one over here. Anything that's too big, I'm gonna set it aside. I don't want it to be. I don't want anything to be too. Like the biggest one, I think should be like that. I don't want it to be any larger. So you can see I have about half of a necklace. Probably a full necklace if I make it like, let me take this off and show it. Check this out. So look at this, how few. So I got these. These are actually black opal. You can't really tell unless you get it in the right light. This light kind of flattens everything out. But in the sunlight, you can see it. Well, this light, you can't see any of the flash. But maybe. I don't know. It doesn't seem like you can see the flash in it. It's not particularly good quality black opal. But anyway, I only got one strand of it. And I liked it. It was okay. But look how many beads are on that. That's like, look, I think that if you were to do a lucky dip with mala beads and you're like, how can I get away with how can I stretch this as far as I can? I would say make necklaces like this, because look how many beads. 1, 2. Oh, there's a little bit of that. You can kind of see it there. I saw a flash of it. No. But with my eyes, it's subtle, but there's like it's like glitter in there. It's not when I look up at the screen, I can't see that glitter. But anyway, look how many few beads that's on that. You know what's good about this is it's nice and light. So for summertime use, that's what you can. It looks good, and it's lightweight, not as heavy as a usual treasure necklace. So if I do that with this, basically I'm done, except for I would like to add some smaller beads to this end, which I have some left here. Kind of thought ahead for that, so we'll put those guys over here. And I think I want a few more because I don't know if I'm going to space it. Now, if this fits around your neck, it'll fit, but if you fit it tight, like there's no knots, you just have to imagine that it's going to be looser. But since this is a very fine thread, the knots are really going to be very, very small, and they're not going to be as like this is like, look how thick this cord is. So this is going to give you a real fine look. So I don't know if I'm going to do this with it, since this is so fine. This would give it that illusion necklace if I were to knot right here on each side. The only thing is I'd have to knot the heck out of it because look at the size of that bead hole. So I'm not looking forward to that as far as trying to design that. But what I'm going to do is see how it will look and deal with that. Sometimes you've got to make like some design choices. I'm going to put these bigger beads on this side, like just the biggest ones. Oh, this is looking pretty good. I want to hustle so I can show the actual knotting part. This one came out good. Oh, this is not, this is shinier. So this is kyanite. You can see that's kyanite in that batch. A little bit different than the ruby zozite. See, that's the ruby zozite. It's a little more of a pointy. This is more of a squared off. But that's in that I don't know why I'm showing this because I couldn't check the amounts that were in there to see if I even have it. But you know what? If you get it, I know that we sold most of these, so this will give you a couple of ideas of what to do with it. So I already got one necklace out of this blend, and I'm making the second one. So it was I think around 40 something dollars, 48 maybe, 42. I don't remember how much we priced it at. But as far as making a necklace, if you get two, I mean, if you make it for 20 bucks, I don't think that's bad at all. Considering what's in there. Of course, if it's $20 and it's all glass, then that's probably, if it's like check glass, you'd probably be like, well, that must be like the most, high-end check glass. Although, I've seen some that's very ornate and can easily go for that. So just depends. Just depends on what you're doing. So that has a lot of ruby on that one, if you can see it. Now let's see how far I have. Looking pretty good. I think it looks pretty. I talked about Sundance with some of my friends not that long ago. And it was kind of interesting to take. Like, there was some part of it that people were upset about that I didn't hear. That was kind of interesting. That I figured it was just rumor, but I'd known some artists that said that they had sent some work to Sundance and they hadn't gotten paid, but their stuff is going on sale. And they're like, so what's that story? And sometimes that can happen where a bigger company is having a friend of mine where they were refusing to pay. And I've had this happen to myself. Sometimes when it's a really big company and they're like, well, they can use different tactics so then they don't have to pay, which is kind of a drag. And not really much you can do that I've seen. I'm sure there are things that other people thought up. Now, I don't want to push this too hard through there because I don't want to keep trying to, like, I can see it coming off this side. I don't like it to force it. So if it's too tight, I just set that aside. Because I don't want the hole to be massive, but I also don't want to just sit here futzing with that because you can I have a little pair of tweezers that you can grip the end and pull it through. I don't feel like doing that right now. I just feel like doing this. All right, I feel like that's long enough, right? This is the longest part of this. And I think this is a piece of that. That's some of the variety you can get with that opal. The white, boy, it's hard to see the hole on it. It's like, is that going to be easier or is that going to be hard? Oh, there it is. All right, get some more of that. Get thin it, have some of that. Oh, that's that beautiful. There's some really gorgeous moonstone. You guys know how I feel about. I feel like feldspar is my jam, which is basically labradorite, moonstone, sunstone. All my favorites. I found out. Oh, I need to trim this side and see how it's starting to split there. Now, if you have enough, if you make your needle long enough, you just do like this and snip that splayed part out, and then you can just keep going. I'm trying to keep an eye. Shoot, I always think I'm going to have enough time. How is it that, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but how is it possible that an hour can go by so fast? I mean, I know I had struggle. We're all riding the struggle bus just a minute ago with Restream being a pain, and still at this moment actively not showing me the comments section. It's like the main reason I have it is so I can read the comments section. That's the whole point. Oh no. Oh yeah, that's why I have it. It's like, wait, what else reason? Oh, and it's so I can spread out to 4 locations, because that's the other good of it is I can be on Facebook, I can be on YouTube, I can be on all of it. All right, that was a little snug. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Oh, would you be happy with a necklace such as this? You know what this reminds me of? This shape right here. I have a picture on my phone from Tucson 2022. And I think I took pictures of a strand that was kind of looked like this, except they looked old. But that the necklace I'm talking about. Let me just check this. I'm going to check the width to see if it'll go around my neck. Yep, fits around my neck. So if anything, I know that it will at least fit as a choker. But I know that this is going to have some. I'll be able to knot it. All right. So note how I didn't cut or trim anything. So if you're following along or you're just learning this, note that I'm not cutting anything. I see that comment coming quite a bit where people say, so how much do I need? The beauty of this trick, the main goal of it, and what makes this good is that you're not cutting. And you'll wonder, hey, how come you leave so much? The reason is that say it's a little too short for what I want. Like, I got that tender chi where my energy gets cut off if I have something too high up on my neck. Well, if that's the case, if I leave myself some room at the end on either side, say like I can add this much because I've left that. And I do that on purpose. Because sometimes I favor a long necklace or maybe a bracelet or something, or so I can wrap it. I'm probably not going to wrap it, but the option is there. And you never know, maybe your customer wants to do that. So I make everything. I don't know. I think I did a post about this where I make everything I make as if I'm making it for me, and like I want it and I'm going to use it. So that way, if it doesn't sell, it's not like, oh, what am I going to do with that? You don't want that story. So I just made one knot. Let me show it in slow-mo. So here's the end. Nothing's been trimmed. I slid that first bead down. I've got my knot, just a basic, I guess, overhand knot. Slid that down. I'm holding it the bead is a head, and like I'm pinching it by its neck. See, it's like trapped right there. And so then flip your hand, grab from down here. Let me just get that so it's a little more room. I'm kind of tied up in here. Let me get some more space. Move everything down. Used to be, before I learned to do this, you had to measure how much you needed, and that amount, if you ran out, you would have to like figure out how to tie something else on, or just go ahead and put it in a box and save it till you figured something else out. Usually what I would do is try to add chain to it. That's the old standby, is to add a little bit of chain and act like we all meant for that to happen. It's not what meant to. We all know. I just didn't leave enough. All right, so hold it. You can see I've got my pinky holding. That's for tension. Pull back. And as you're pulling back, you turn to make a loop. Think of it like a little noose you're going to throw that little bead through right here. Pull it through, and see how I'm holding the thread. It's not just like free for all. I'm still using the tension of that. So I don't use a tool because I don't need a tool, but you can use a little pair of tweezers or a little awl, like a stick or something to guide that. Let me see if I have one handy. Okay, so this is what this is for, where you can hold it and guide your knot. And then, like for me, this is cumbersome. I can't hold it and do it. So I'm just going to show you how I know how to do it. And what I do is, like, I'll get it to that part. And here's the real beauty of this technique. Take the 2 threads and do one of these right here. And you can pull it apart and slightly get a little bit of snug. And that's why this, I believe, with my whole chest, that this is the best way to knot, hands down. I mean, you might have another way that's your favorite. There's no wrong or right way. Now, but I will say this is the superior way, even if you know the tools. I'm just saying. We can all have our beliefs. So here's the other thing right now, is that I can choose right now to do this. I can leave a little space and then knot. You see what I mean? You can change that around. I don't know. How do I feel about that? Let's look at it for a minute. Let's just look. I'm going to scoop these guys, the remainder of what I have left. Scoop these guys in here. So that's what I've left. So that is earrings right there for drops. You can have that pendant drops, earrings. So this is actually for $40-something. And then this, not bad as far as value for what you get. I mean, I've spent $40 on a single strand of beads. That's easy. You do that all day long. To me anyway. When you get kind of obsessed or fixated, I get hyper fixated. So I'm trying to avoid having any knots. So these kind of got a little bit tangledy when I was flipping it around. So I'm going to make sure I don't like preemptively get in there and undo any kind of potential knots. Usually what I do is, oh, I just made a knot. So don't do that. Go back out. Just made myself a little bit of a mess. Usually I like to keep them where it's like, you want to make it where because I was shoving things around, you want to lay it out so that there's no danger of getting your stuff tangled up. You don't want that, because that means you're going to be dealing with having, and with this fine business here, it's really easy to make a knot. So that's why if I even sense that there's going to be some trouble, I go in and try to make sure that it's not even, there's like a little bit, like these things got twisted up a little bit, but I want to make sure that it's not going to be so twisted that later on, like in the next, when I go back in here, that I'm going to have problems. So I have to lay everything out and make sure since I reorganized over here, I want to make sure that this isn't getting tangled. So you can see there's a little bit of an area here where I can have problems with this down the road, so that when they get twisted up, you just have to go in here and do like this and say, okay, follow it. And it might take a couple minutes to, follow one side, but you'll see what I'm doing is I'm very gingerly, I'm not pulling anything. And so what happened was they were just kind of, like getting tumbled. I was a little hasty when I cleared the decks here a minute ago. And usually I'm a little more delicate with it. So that's all that took, is kind of separate it. I keep them like this usually, and giving myself space and making sure there's no, and I keep them off to the side so there's no like danger of making a mess. And so you need that to be clear. So if you see it start to, like there's like any kind of tangling, immediately take care of it, because it's not one of those things where you're going to be like, oh, I'll just deal with it in a minute. If you deal with it in a minute, you're going to have especially with the fine, it's going to be really hard and waste your own time. So if I weren't talking, it would be easier to just go in there and I can really follow it really fast and just, untwist basically. So here's what this is looking like. I'm making space. So usually if I have the beads going down this far, there's no real way, especially with these like thread minders, they're not going to get tangled up as much. But get anything off of your area, like leaving this stuff in there, That's how that stuff gets tangled up. So just leave it over to one side and move it down, move everything down, give yourself plenty of space. I like to have about that much to work. So I only really knotted one bead here. So let's get this party started, right? Okay, so I'm just going to do the normal way for a minute. And you know what? I can change my mind, but I kind of love how this looks right here. I kind of love it when it's like a, I don't know. I like both. I like the space, and I also like how that looks kind of like a little bit of a rainbow. That little bit of randomness. Now, once I get going, I can move pretty quick. You'll see. This part for me is very fast. And one thing I will say, and like I always say when I'm nodding, is if you're not in a good mood, you don't have the right energy, I feel like as humans, we have all these sensory organs, you know, your sight, your sense of touch, your sense of smell. Uh, all that is to collect information, right? And I just feel like humans, like we are designed to create. And I feel like you don't want any kind of like negativity when you're making something. So if you're not in the right frame of mind, go do something else. Go take a walk or something, clear your head. You don't want that carried into the piece you're making. You know, you want to be able to use it like you want this to be your safe space for creating. You don't want to be sitting here like, man, that person cut me off in traffic. And then your next knot, man, this person did that. You know, you don't want, it's almost like locking in some, like, I don't know, negative kind of. And I feel like you can feel that, like you can feel it when you hold it. So for me, if I'm making anything, and this is just my, like, some people say, oh my God, that's so superstitious. But you know, the more I learn about the human brain, the more I respect that there's so much that we don't know about, that there's so much we are unaware of. But I do know, what I do know is that there'll be times when I'll be thinking of a friend and immediately, and like without, I'll be sitting there thinking, man, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a minute. And it's almost like then I'll see a message later or right away, you know, like if I didn't see it, if it's on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, I'm not real good at checking social media. Sometimes I forget that stuff. Like I'll post and then I'll go to my groups, like I'll like look in groups. But as far as like, I got to control myself from just randomly scrolling because I'll end up wasting a lot of time. So I don't want to do that. So I kind of ration myself. But then I'll see a message. So to me, that means that there is something to that my brain is somehow connecting. And if that's the case, from that evidence, I don't want to sully my own work. And so I always make sure that I'm going in with the right and proper mind frame of work. So right here, you can say I tightened too fast. This happens more with the fine stuff. Like it's super fine. This is called the micro chord. If this happens, just grab the knot. These are super sharp, so you don't want to go in and be too aggressive. And just get it, and pull it. Come on, you don't get in trouble. Maybe I didn't get it on that side. Of course, it's always when I'm live that there'll be some. I think it is like teaching moment because this happens. Like sometimes you'll get a little bit of an area that doesn't want to, like it doesn't want to do it. Now, if I pulled this tight, the chances of this, see, it doesn't want to do it. So I pulled it just to show that that's not gonna, that would not have been the answer. The answer is to use the edge of this or the sharp part and to loosen up the brown thread that's trapping the greenish thread and loosen it up so it can be pulled through. Because one thread knotted a little more like tight around the other one, and it didn't, like, it made a loop. Now, if you can't leave that, because that will catch on things, and it's just not good quality to leave something like that. You can't. That's, to me, that's not, like, you just can't keep going. It's not like a drop stitch where you're like, no, I don't see it. This you can see. So it is absolutely worth checking your work as you go, and not getting into the zone that you don't even look at what you're doing, because you want to see any kind of mistakes. So look at your knots after each one, so that it just takes a second. All right, so now you can see we're back to where we want to be. And again, I'm going to gently. Now this can happen if you have, say you have one that's significantly thicker. That can happen. And you separate them a little bit, and then tighten. Or not, it's like it didn't even happen. But it did take a little bit of time. And that's something that's part of the knotting process, is that you have a little bit of a hiccup every once in a while. But look how pretty that's going. And that's on the two. The other good thing is that the double is just another added layer of security, so that if your necklace does break one strand, it's got to go through a whole nother one. But I have to tell you, I have yet to see any of my necklaces break that way. Although the other day I had my long sapphire crochet necklace, and I bent down and caught the necklace caught, because I wear them really long, and it caught on some, I can't remember what it was. I was leaning down to do something, and I got up fast, and I broke the cord right at where it's glued. And at first I was like kind of bummed, but only one sapphire fell. So I was like, all right. Now that wouldn't have happened if I had just had like a normal cord situation. Everything would have just sprayed on the ground, unless it was wire wrapped. So I had a moment where, all I have to do is just go in there and pick back a minute, and maybe I'll do a thing where I can show how to repair that, because I have a couple I have to repair. So that might be a good thing to show, is the repair. I'm always picking these colors that are really hard to see. When I look at this, I'm like, that cord's like invisible. But if you lay it on a cloth, I have a cloth under me here, and that's pretty. Oh man, it's already been like an hour and 13. Time flies. It sure does. So you can see there, this has got a little bit of a nick in it. It's okay. It's still a pretty stone. Okay, that looks pretty good. The other good thing about, if you have double colors, you could dye it. And I've dyed, if you want to do this way, you could actually dye it. And it's funny, because this was soaked right here. You can see it was soaked in some acrylic. It laid on my palette. Like sometimes, I don't know if you can see it. It's like that little bit of pink. The nylon accepts dye really well. So you could actually go in there and I think you could go in there and do a little acrylic and doctor that up a little bit if you wanted to. If you wanted to add that bit of color. So we were talking about now I forgot to make the post for Anne's caps, like we talked about. I just talked about it, and then I didn't do the post like I was supposed to. But because I'm on staycation, it left my mind. So I'm going to do the post. So if you've been waiting for that post, so that I mentioned that there's a win of 2 twigs, and then what we'll do is vote. I don't want to be the one that picks it, because that's kind of a stressful position to be. I used to do, way back when we used to do contests on early Facebook, when Facebook was first around, and then we had it where people would email in their like submissions, and then what I would do was like post it, and then people would vote. And I had one of the I had one of the folks that was submitting was an active member of a bead society, so had a lot of friends, and they had their friends, like all of them, vote for their piece. And so their piece was good, but there were some folks that spent like, I don't even know how long. I mean, like incredible amounts of time to make these necklaces. And they were pretty unhappy with the winners. They were like, hey, this piece does not even have half the beads, doesn't have half the amount. And I was just like, so this was voted on, and this person got, and this was no joke. I had to count. I had so many votes that it actually froze up my email, if you can believe it. Like I had to go through tech support to figure out what was wrong. And they're like, your email just got like over the top, like how many people voted. It was crazy. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to forward this to you, but I had like 1 million votes for this person. I counted them. And they're like, well, that's not fair. And I was like, so what is the fair way? And I actually got quite a bit of like complaints, and it gave me PTSD. So I didn't want to do a contest. Like, I'm never doing this again, because people got kind of mean and were like, this is favoritism. This is like, that's probably like your friend. And I was just like, listen, yes, I do know this person, and we see each other at shows, but we're not besties. I mean, I'm like, I know you. How come I didn't give it to you? And they're like, that's exactly what I mean. How come you didn't give it to me? And I'm like, well, because that's not, what's the fair answer here? So it was kind of stressful. I didn't like it. Because it turned out to be, they were like, this is just a popularity contest. And I'm like, well, so what's the solution? The solution for me was like, okay, I'm taking a break from doing contests. And that's how that went down. So now when I do a contest, it's like popular vote, and y'all have to it's all visual. You can see it. It's not me coming up with it or counting it behind the scenes, because that was not fun at all to have so many angry people to be what was supposed to be a good time and get people to use my beads, because that's ultimately the goal, is to get people to use the beads. Because you know what I hear over and over and over all day, every day, is people say to me, no exaggeration, I just love your beads, but I don't want to use them. And then I'm like, well, that will pretty much contribute to me having to go out of business at some point. If no one uses their beads, then how do you expect me to pay my bills? And so that was my solution, was to try to do a contest to drum up, extra business, to show people what other people are doing, which works pretty well for the most part. But there's other ways. Like the Facebook group's a good way to get people to show their work, show what people are doing. Boy, this the way with the fine, you got to be a little more patient, because I've been knotting for about a lot longer than I thought. So I don't know that I'll finish this without going hoarse. I think it will take me to knot one of these, I would say it takes about an hour at this length, because I'm almost halfway at least. So it's probably not a half hour. I would not say that. But I did have to pick a few knots out right at the beginning, and then a couple times over here where there were some places that got knotted. So that's what I have so far. And that looks really good. I think that came out pretty. Just be gentle, don't do aggressively, you have to push these guys down and make some space. Oh, check this stone. I've had this for years. I'm going to change the subject real fast, but I'm going to try and drill this. This is a smoky quartz with hessonite garnet that has grown on top of this. This was my prize from one of the shows that I went out to Tucson when I used to show out there like 5 years ago. We would always show and be at like either the To Be True Blue show or um, Ava's Whole Beach show. We've done many shows out there, but usually I'll get myself something that's like I call it fancy, like my prize. I'll call it my prize, and it'll be something that is not something I would usually buy because it'd be like pricey or whatever. But if I've been working the whole time, I think, man, I worked hard, I deserve it, and that's where I've gotten some of my best, most fanciest strands is from that. And that was one right here. I've been holding it, thinking, what am I going to do? And I think what I'm going to do is make a small drill so it doesn't come out, but I'm scared to drill it because I don't want the crystals to come off. My friend Carter of Woman Shops World, she is the first person to have that crystal, and she was telling me about it. And she had one. Man, that one is awesome. It was like big crystals, polka dotted on it, and really orange. I love that root beer orange color. I have another one of these that is a little bit shorter, but this is the best piece. I love it. But I'm kind of scared to drill it. I don't want to crack it. So I've been debating for the past 10 years or so what to do. And I think what I'll probably do is just make a wax bezel or cap, and then glue it in with some E6000. But if you drill it, it's a little more stable. So, if you just, I don't know, maybe prongs, maybe prong. A little bit of that can help secure a stone. All right. That seems pretty good. So I got about this much left. Let's look at what I have left. That's about what I have left. And here's what I've done so far. Looks pretty good. All right. That looks pretty good. All right. So I've been going for about an hour and 20. I thought I'd be done with this. I thought I was going to do a quick one, but apparently that's not in the cards for me. So I am going to switch this camera over and do something else, as it were. Let's see. Okay. Sorry. That's just my fan. All right, my friends, I'm so sorry that I couldn't read the comments, but I will read them on later because you know what? I'm sure that you will be able to, maybe I'll be able to, I don't know if I'll be able to see it, to be honest. I might be able to read them on Facebook, but yeah, it's kind of annoying. All right, my friends, I hope you found that useful. I always have a good time. Even I can see it. 44 of you are joining me today. I hope that y'all had fun in the comments section without me. I feel a little like kind of bummed I couldn't be in there, but I don't know how to I don't know how to fix that. So we just move on, right? Show's got to go on. Usually, who knows what will happen with that? But anyway, my friends, I'm going to go live again on Wednesday, and I'm going to keep making stuff. I've got a little bit. Let's see if someone who's in it. He's sleeping so hard. Let's see if I can aim the camera so you can see his little tongue is poking out. Look how hard that cat's sleeping. Watch this. That was like 1,000, 1,000. He loves these. I get these from Costco. Honey, honey. He he has a good work ethic. He sat beside me. Well, he sits there all the time. That's like he likes to watch what I'm doing, and then I can reach over and pet his face. He doesn't mind, and comb his fur. He's pretty pampered, very pampered. That's my son, Marty. He's a big boy. I know he's kind of acting like he doesn't ever get anything, but he does. This cat. Now let me pet you. Denied. All right, my friends. Thank you all for joining me and sticking with me, even though I couldn't read your comments. That was kind of a drag. Azalea was kind of keeping me on the thing. Hopefully, she was chit chatting with y'all. Boy, he's shedding a lot. It's that time of the year. All right, friends. I hope you have a wonderful and creative rest of your week until Wednesday, and then we're gonna do something fun, something good. Hopefully, I have one of those 2 kits. Hopefully, I'm done. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I'm working hard though, so hopefully that happens. All right, friends. I'm gonna make myself a drink, and I will see you all Wednesday. Good night, friends.